Hey guys, and welcome back to Tales from the Basement podcast, the newest place for all things nerd culture, discussions, debates, and hot takes, and where we ask the real questions in life. I'm Joe, and I'm here with my good friend Bash. Say hi, Bash.
Hello.
Today we'll be discussing Ubisoft fatigue, what it means to be a role-playing game, and we're saying farewell to a game that's very near and dear to Bash's heart. This podcast is a work in progress, and as we go along, we are constantly making adjustments to improve the quality of the episodes that we produce. I want to thank you as a viewer of the show and for your patience and support. If you like what you see here on this podcast, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here to the show, make sure to smash that subscribe button. So let's go ahead and start with the farewell game, shall we?
All right.
Over here on Kotaku, LittleBigPlanet server apocalypse wipes hundreds of thousands of PlayStation players' creations without warning. According to this article by Ethan Gack, Sony has indefinitely decommissioned the PlayStation 4 servers for puzzle platformer LittleBigPlanet 3. The company announced in an update to one of its support pages. The permanent shutdown comes just months after the servers were temporarily taken offline due to ongoing issues. Fans now fear potentially hundreds of thousands of players' creations not saved locally will be lost for good. Due to ongoing technical issues, which resulted in LittleBigPlanet 3 servers for PlayStation 4 being taken offline temporarily in January 2024, the decision has been made to keep the servers offline indefinitely. All online servers, including access to other players' creations for LittleBigPlanet 3, are no longer available. Bash, what does this game mean to you, and how do the online functionality taken offline affect how you play the game going forward?
Well, okay, so I will say like Little Big Planet 3 means basically nothing to me, but it does mark a final nail in the coffin for the whole series. I played 1 and 2. Those were like the heyday for me, and I religiously played those for like a good 5 years straight or something. Like, I mean, and yeah, I made a lot of friends there, and I made a lot of stuff and played a lot of stuff. There's just and that's the whole thing is like that was one of my first games in the PlayStation or just in my life really where I was like I had a PS3 and it had free online. I didn't have like I was too young to pay for online back then, and like I didn't have parents that wanted to pay for that for me. And PlayStation 3 had free online, and that was my first experience. Like I remember thinking, Little Big Planet's fine, it's whatever. But when I got online, it was like it was mind blowing. I don't know. Yeah. So when I never looked back after that. I was like constantly on that game, seeing all the stuff that people could create and making my own stuff. I really like making like my own characters and costumes and that. I had so many. I had like in Little Big Planet 2, I filled up all the slots. I think that I had like 200 different costumes.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I did a lot of creation with it, with that at the very least, with all the
Right.
characters and costumes. And then I even got into the level stuff too. But yeah, with them shutting down online servers, which they shut down Little Big Planet 1's a good while ago, and that was a sad day. But it was like, oh, they still got 2 and 3, and with 2, I don't know if they've been up until recently or if they've shut down. That's something I'm not sure of, like when they shut down. But I thought it was as of this 2, but maybe it was just 3 with this. But the thing is, so after 2, Media Molecule, the developers of the game, well, they also made Vita, I guess. Then they sold the IP to go. They were going to work on other things, and more power to them. I'm glad they didn't just let the IP just rot and fester somewhere like a lot of
Yeah.
developers or companies do. They sold it to somebody who wanted it. They sold it to one of the folks that made a lot of the DLC for the first 2 games and stuff. Which these games had a lot of DLC and like crossover stuff. And at Sumo Digital, and when that happened, I was like, all right, well, I wanted to follow what Media Molecule was doing because they're like the flagship. They're the ones doing like they had the big ideas and stuff, and they wanted to like make big changes and all that. And so I was like, I'm gonna follow what they're doing, and they ended up doing Dreams, which wasn't as successful, but it was very ambitious.
It's very
But
similar
anyways,
to Little Big Planet and the way you create, like, you make your own content in it, right?
Yes. Dreams is very much like I've always described Dreams as the YouTube of video games. Like you can make your own content, upload it, and then it's there for the world to play. And that's how Little Big Planet worked too. But you're a lot more constrained in Little Big Planet, where in Dreams it's almost too unconstrained. It's like I tried to learn the tools in that, and it was overwhelming.
Oh wow.
I was like, wow, like I can't. Oh, I also got way into making music in Little Big Planet 2,
Oh
and
nice.
1 actually. Yeah, 1 it was more complicated, but I did do it. And 2 they made it. It's like a MIDI kind of thing. You could just like put notes on a thing. And anyway, but in Dreams, I couldn't even make music. I was like, oh my god, you have to like record your own instruments and stuff. It
Oh
was
my gosh.
really, it's very unconstrained. You can use other people's though, but
Yeah.
I was like, this is very confusing to me.
Oh my.
But it's great to get on every few years and like see what people have made, and that's what Little Big Planet had kind of become for me too a little bit. But it's a little sad to know that like I can't give that experience to anyone else again.
Yeah.
It's a slice of like my I guess teenagers where um, I can't show anybody that anymore. It's like I could show them what you could do, and but man, the stuff that like people would make on there, like even in the first game, but especially in the second game, people were making like first person shooters and stuff,
Oh
even though it's a puzzle platformer. They had all kinds of wild stuff. I played some of like the best, and even in Dreams too. Just to give that a shout out, like I've played some game. There's a specific game in Dream that I played that like to this day I still talk about it because it was like wow, like that was a lot of fun. It was a really good like puzzle game. But yeah, so the stuff the community can make. People got jobs with Media Molecule through Little Big Planet. It's
oh
just
nice.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it's a really big,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's sad to see it go, but I don't know. Like I said, personally for me, it kind of died when Media Molecule sold the IP, but yeah, it is really sad to see that like it seems at least for now, other than Sackboy's Big Adventure, I guess it's like dead as an IP now, which sucks because I always thought it was adorable. I love the little sack people, and I don't know everything
Yeah.
about it. Is just I
It was
love the
basically
aesthetic.
a Sony staple. Even Sackboy made an appearance in PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale.
Yeah. It had Sackboy had definitely become, and probably still is, treated as like one of the icons, like Crash Bandicoot and all that. They put Sackboy next to Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn or what. So it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
That's cute and all, but I don't know. It was always I think an overlooked game. But man, like, because even me, like I said, when I first played the first one, I was like, okay, it's fine. I thought it was kind of childish looking and stuff, but I don't know. But as I got more into it, I really ended up loving everything about it, and yeah, it's sad to see it go.
Yeah. Little Big Planet is very similar to Mario Maker, wouldn't you say? Because they're
Yeah,
essentially both.
absolutely.
Yeah, they're both platformers. Speaking of
Yeah,
Super Mario Maker, the servers for the first one is shut down on the Wii U. So I guess
really. Okay,
yeah. So
kind of happening there.
yeah, nobody's able to upload their own stuff on that server as well. So how many Little Big Planet games are there?
Oh man, I know they are well over. They're in the millions for sure. I remember when they first passed a million. That was like
Okay,
probably 10 years ago
how
now.
how many mainline Little Big Planet games are there? Like how many
Oh,
releases?
main line. Oh,
Yeah,
my bad. I thought you meant levels.
yeah.
Oh,
I
the main line.
understand. With creatable content, there will be like an endless amount of
Oh,
levels that one can go through.
yes. Now, and that's what was the beauty of it. Like
Hmm.
you get on every day and have new content. It was amazing.
Right.
But main line, I think there's technically five, if I'm not mistaken. There's one, two, Vita, three, and then Sackboy's Big Adventure. If you count that, I would still count that, I guess.
I think the
But
only one I've ever played was three.
really, okay.
Yeah.
That's the one where you could like change into like three different little characters.
Yeah.
It was like a big guy, a little guy, or the sack boy, and then it was like a big, like heavier guy, and then there was like a dog creature. I never played three. I got it for free, but I never touched that game. I don't know. It wasn't necessarily on principle, but I don't know. It was just like maybe it was on principle. I
Yeah.
guess it's just like
So
it feels like a shell now of
yeah.
itself
Yeah. So you got
to me.
the first two Little Big Planets, I believe, were on the PS3. Little Big Planet 3, was it exclusively for the PS4?
I think so, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah.
But I think so.
And then you have the one for the Vita, and then Sackboy's Big Adventure.
That one's a PS5.
That's on PS5, and I believe it's on
Yeah.
PC as well, if I'm not mistaken. What's
Wow, that's
uh,
crazy. They've been moving a lot to PC.
Yeah, PlayStation's been doing heavy moving their IPs to PC. Absolutely. What's that? Sackboy's Big Adventure apart from the other Little Big Planet games?
Oh, it's a completely different game. Yeah, it's just a platformer, like very akin to like Ratchet and Clank or something like that.
So it's like a 3D platformer.
Yeah, it's a 3D platformer. It's not 2D, and as far as I know, there's no creation involved in that. It's just a single player game. That one's very much like a kid could play that one. Like, I mean, you could kind of do that with Little Big Planet, but because of the vast amount of things you can get through creation, there could be adult levels out there and like things that there was like even just my friends alone, like I had friends that were into like making and playing horror stuff. I had one that was really into playing really difficult platformers. People would like really push the limits of what you could do with the physics and stuff in the game to like create really difficult platformers, and that was really cool. It was like kind of like playing something well, I hate to like throw out comparisons, but like yeah, it's like comparing it to like what Elden Ring is to like adventure games. They had like that kind of thing for Little Big Planet, where it was like you had like long stretch before you got to a checkpoint, and so if you like it'd be really difficult, and like if you died at the very end, you got to go all the way back and like do it again. And like yeah, I had friends like that. There were friends that liked more cinematic stuff.
Yeah.
There were movies and stuff. It's just all kinds of stuff. But
that's awesome.
yeah, but yeah, Sackboy's Big Adventure is just a puzzle, or it's just a puzzle platformer. Yeah, that's all it is. 3D platformer.
Would you consider Sackboy's Big Adventure to be a reboot of Little Big Planet?
I guess we did talk about that last time. Yeah. No, because it doesn't share the same name, I guess. I would say it's in the same world, but it doesn't share the same name, so I would say I guess I'm not sure what I'd consider that to be. It's more of like a spin-off. Yeah, I think a spin-off is the right term.
Okay. Do you think the community will be picking up the slack and find a way to keep the servers online like they did with the Super Mario Maker?
Maybe it's not on PC is the biggest issue, so there'd be that whole like conversion. I mean, you'd have to like create an emulator, which it's probably been done, but because of the complicated nature of that, I feel like it's never gonna be nearly what it is or what it was.
Yeah, I know the PS4 has been hacked at the very least. I don't know how far they got into being able to, I guess, create custom servers for all the games on there.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something I never got into, so I really don't know. But again, even if I didn't get into it, like not to say I would consider myself not hardcore but not casual. I'm somewhere in the middle there, and it's like, I feel like there's a lot of gamers in that category, and it's like I feel like only the most hardcore of like people would do that, and if I'm not one of them, especially when I was as big of a fan I was with the game, like what does that really mean for the vast majority? I just feel like you're not going to have the population to support that. I don't know, but it's possible. If you have some people that are passionate enough about it, of course, anything is possible. So who knows?
All right. Is there anything else you want to add?
Nah. I think that's good. Yeah, it's sad, but well, I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping for the community to kick in and be able to support the game for years to come. Because
hopefully they like make another one. Who knows? Maybe they'll make a 4 or something.
They might. They just might. You never know. Don't tempt Sony.
Yeah, one more thing I actually will add. Now that I think about it, I don't think it was mentioned in. It didn't mention it here, but from what I heard, the reason they took it down in the first place is because it was like succumbing to hackers and stuff, and it was like really bad, from what I understand. I don't know what they were doing, but people were hacking into the game, and like it was.
Wow.
It was bad enough that like, okay, we need to figure this out, and they just couldn't figure it out, so they just shut down the game. But as far as I understand, that's what happened, which is questionable. But I mean, if that's all you can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, DDoS attacks. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, while the servers for the PS3 version of the game, okay, so it wasn't exclusively to just PS4, so it was cross compatible.
So they shut down in 2021 due to DDoS attack. Wow.
Yeah.
So they were essentially becoming dead games, dead media, and then people took advantage of that, which people are horrible and have to do that, I guess. So.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, moving
Beat a dead horse.
on to our main topic of the night. We're going to talk about exactly how real is Ubisoft fatigue. As a bit of a
Right, yeah.
backstory, I've always liked Ubisoft games. Assassin's Creed is among one of my favorite franchises of all time. I've enjoyed what I played in Watch Dogs series. Just Dance is a pretty good party game. I don't give a crap about rabbits at all, and I can go on and on and on. My issue with Ubisoft nowadays, dating back to the beginning of the decade, is that the executives have their heads shoved so far up their asses that they have completely lost touch with the entire community. Starting with the whole employee abuse debacle. Do you even remember that?
I feel like there's an employee. Well, abuse. I don't.
It was happening
Maybe.
around the same time as the when Activision Blizzard was being called out for it as well.
Okay. Yeah. Then yeah, with the sexual harassment and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. That I was mentioning that before the stream, but yeah, that happens so often in so many things. Like, it's. I don't understand like why this isn't cut before it becomes like such a widespread and public issue. Like, holy moly, it just needs to be taken
Well,
care of before that.
yeah, a lot of people were placing blame on the CEO, Body Kotick, at the time. No, no,
Yeah,
excuse me, that's not right.
that's
Body
Blizzard.
Kotick, that's Activision Blizzard.
Uh,
Who's the CEO of Ubisoft?
it's a great question. I have no clue, and honestly, I don't care. But you can look him up. Yeah, it's like one of those that like, man, they're all terrible, dude. They're all, and at the end of the day, I mean, it's just one person.
Yves Guillemot.
Guillemot.
Guillemot. If I mispronounce his name, I do not care.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Assassin's Creed, starting with, I think the first one I ever played was Assassin's Creed 2 back in the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I vividly remember playing the first one.
See, Josh actually talked me into playing it, and I really fell in love with the gameplay after that. I just love how you can be able to parkour over all kinds of buildings and just basically do what you want in that kind of game. But lately, it's just been all about. I think in 2021 they dove into the NFT craze. Do you remember that?
Yep.
That was a whole thing, and they wanted to implement it into their games. Forgot which game they wanted to actually put it in. I think it was a Tom Clancy game, and that didn't go over so well.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That was it. That open world one. I remember around that time.
Breakpoint. I'm not sure if that's specifically the one, but yeah, Breakpoint didn't do so well either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, they're really botching up the Star Wars Outlaws pre-order situation. That has people scratching their heads. Do you know anything about that?
Oh yeah, I know that they're like what is it, $115 edition or what?
Yeah, and they're locking out content for the premium versions at launch. So it's even if you get like just the base game, you're not getting the complete experience.
Oh yeah, I heard like Jabba the Hutt or something is like locked behind a paywall.
Absolutely, yeah.
They like showed him in the trailers like he's in the game, and it's like, oh nope, unless you pay.
Skull and Bones released with lackluster fanfare, calling it a quadruple A game, whatever that means.
It's currently $25.
Oh, is it now? Ooh,
Yeah,
they're really making their money back on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All the Far Cry games as of late, ever since I believe the third or fourth one.
Ever since 3, really.
Yeah, ever since 3.
Everybody agrees that 4 sucks, and then 5 is better than 4, but they've just been trying to recreate 3.
Yeah, the problem is that they all play the same, and they're creatively bland, with Avatar being the best in the series.
Yeah, like, that's an interesting way to put it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I actually heard like that game was surprisingly good for what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
From what I've heard.
Yeah, it's the best Far Cry game out there.
Yeah, I feel like that's because everybody's expectations were on the floor, especially with it being a movie license game and it's Ubisoft. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's a part of the reason why I just completely bypass it.
Yeah, and that's why people were like, "Wow, this actually isn't horrible."
Yeah, as much as I enjoyed Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey playing through them, They're just so dang long, man. It's part of the reason why I've been holding off playing through Valhalla. I don't want to touch that until I know I have like enough time to be able to get through it. People are considering those forever games based off how many hours you got to invest into them.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it matters on what kind of player you are, because I know there's some people that can put like thousands of hours into those kinds of games, and like good for them. But I've heard Ubisoft be mentioned as like they're like the bargain bin of the AAA games now. They've become like king of the bargain bin. Like with the Ubisoft game that you only have to wait maybe a month and it's going to be at least 50% off. And that seems to hold true, especially with Skull and Bones already.
Yep, wait a year. It'll be 80% off.
Yeah, for real. For like the big edition, the $200 edition, you get it for like $20.
Watching the Star Wars Outlaws trailer, I really enjoyed what I saw. I'm very excited to be able to play it once I get my hands on it. But it's just not something I can support at launch. A very similar situation with Skull and Bones. I've been looking forward to Skull and Bones for so long. I mean, you know how big of a pirate fan I am. And I actually played the beta for a while at the time when that was released. And for what I played, I thought it was pretty good. Like, it wasn't like egregious or anything. It wasn't what's the term? Insulting in a way for the playtime that I put into it. But then again, I didn't really get as far as many others did, especially streamers. But of course, with the lackluster reception that it came at launch, I decided to hold off on that until that goes on deep sale. You said it's $25 now.
It's 25 or 35. Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Still too expensive. Still too expensive. Yeah. I'm gonna wait.
Well, the thing is, the longer you wait on that kind of game, I mean, it's a PvP. Well, kind of. It's a multiplayer game, I guess.
I would call it an MMO.
Yeah, I think you can get away with calling it that, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely a multiplayer game, and it's like, the longer you wait, the smaller that fan base is gonna be. I don't know how big it is already. I'm sure it's already pretty small, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
worth thinking about.
Well, speaking of Skull and Bones, what does it even mean to be a quadruple A game?
Man, it means absolutely nothing. Like, the state of even AAA games has been going like lower and lower, man. Like, I know you've talked about on a recent podcast the Baldur's Gate. Like, Baldur's Gate's considered a double A game. So, because they're like an independent studio.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you've got games that aren't even AAA games absolutely destroying, we're wiping the floor with all the AAA games,
well, hang on.
That something's wrong.
I don't think it'd be considered double A. You said it's from an independent studio? That would make it a triple I game. Wouldn't you agree?
Triple I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, as far as I've heard now, it's considered a double A. As far as I understand, I don't know all the terminology very well, but that's what I've heard. And like, but yeah, it's like, there's an issue. There's a deep-rooted issue, and it's like, it all comes down to corporate greed, really. Yeah. I mentioned that before. I think.
Speaking of corporate greed, the entire reason, at least that's the rumor going around, that they made the Assassin's Creed games, starting with Origins, an XP system. They introduced that into the games for the sake of selling XP boosters as microtransactions. They revolved the game around wanting trying to get the player to buy XP boosters or any other microtransactions rather than just making a balanced game in the first place. It's a complete 180 than what Dragon's Dogma 2 was trying to do.
Yeah, they want to make a game where you can keep putting in the quarters or whatever.
Yeah.
They need to get into arcade games or casinos. Yeah. Like, they just need to go all out and just go like Konami and start making casino games.
Yeah, feeding into your addiction.
Like, seriously, I don't know, man. I don't know. They're struggling.
Let's talk about how Ubisoft revokes access to the crew. Have you actually bought the crew at any point?
No, but I've definitely known of it. It's racing games and fighting games for me. To add that, I guess, but like, I keep up with those pretty closely. But I don't play them anymore so much. But they're games that I've played growing up, and it's like, So the crew looked really cool. That was the one where you like had the huge map where you could like drive across the U.S. or whatever, kind of condensed version, I guess. But
Yeah, it's like an abridged version of the United States, and you got your main cities, and you can. What's cool about it is that you can drive from one city to another, and it's like a
yeah,
cross country racing game. See, I dove into a little bit back in the day. Wasn't able to dive, I guess, too much time into it, but it definitely looked like a kind of game that I would like. I played a little bit more of the crew too, but I actually do. Yeah, I do have the crew, but I haven't checked to see if I even still have access to it. But I'm taking everyone else's word that I probably don't. Which, speaking of, since they're essentially breaking into your house and stealing your games off your shelf, that leads us to the movement that's going around called Stop Killing Games. It's this website that's at stopkillinggames.com. It's dedicated to real-world action of ending the practice of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers, and then you can take action here and then let your local law people know about it. So hopefully this will gain some traction and make a real positive change into the industry. Have you seen this?
I have now, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go take a look at it myself. But yeah, because something needs to be done. I mean, this is borderline, at least borderline illegal, if not outright illegal, what they're doing. Yeah, you can't just like completely wipe a game from everybody like that. Own it. Like this is Ubisoft too. These are the same people that talk about like, hey, maybe we should like get it to where people don't own their games anymore. You should get used
Yeah,
to it. That's what it was. Get
that's
used to not
right.
owning your games. Yeah,
Yeah. The
that was
CEO made
Ubisoft.
that comment. It's like, yeah, we need to get the gamers to get used to not owning their games. That really rubbed
Like
me the
what the
wrong
hell?
way. Yeah, exactly. They're not
What the hell?
treating
And
they're
then
not
this.
treating digital games the same way as you would physical games or any goods for that matter. You were saying?
Yeah. No, yeah, I was gonna say, and then this, like, this should have almost honestly come as no surprise after
Yeah.
that statement that he made. It's like this is exactly what he meant, and it's like, wow, they're trying to set this as the norm,
Yeah.
and man, this is not gonna fly.
Oh no, not even. So yeah, Ubisoft has gotten a lot of press because of it. Uh, yeah. So yeah, they're building their games around microtransactions and how they can offer you them to skip playing parts of the game to basically to pay more money to not play the game. I think that's
Right.
ridiculous.
Yeah, and then they give you a bloated game that's like thousands of hours long, and then it's like, well, you can make it less time. It's
Yeah,
time savers. That's they like time
that's what
savers.
they
That's
are.
the
Yeah,
word.
yeah. All this straws on the camel's back just keeps adding up, and it just really drove me to just all around not really invest into games at launch. Period. Uh, because of crap like this going on.
No, yeah, that's a. I rarely do that. I generally only do that with sequels of something that I'm either looking forward to, but generally it has to be something that like the developer, I'm pretty sure, they've got a good record at least, and it's like, I feel safe,
Yeah.
but that's still bit me in the ass before. So I mean, Dragon's Dogma is not a perfect game. So yeah, I would say yeah, it always behooves you to wait. I think a
Yeah,
good bit.
but as a glass half full, I've heard a lot of good things. Of course, the Avatar game after release, but I think that's kind of run its course already. But the Prince of Persia game that came out, I've heard a lot of great things about that too. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, that and Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Mirage,
I've
yeah,
heard good things about that too. Well, I guess it kind of depends on your preference of what Assassin's Creed game you like.
yeah,
But that's what I'm interested in. I'm not gonna lie, because I like old school Assassin's Creed. I've played Odyssey, and that's it with the newer ones. And while I was, I was. I don't want to say applauding, but I was like, okay, cool, you're taking it in another direction. At least you're not just like doing the Call of Duty thing where it's just like let's just keep releasing the same game like every year. Maybe that's a hot take,
yeah,
but yeah. So with this, it's like at least they're trying something else, but it's not for me, man. I got to a point that I was like, wow, like all these enemies are just sponges. I just like.
yeah,
I was frustrated with the game after a while. I was like, you know what? And I dropped it. I was like, whatever. I got it super cheap anyways, and but yeah, I prefer 1 and 2 and the whole trilogy from 2. Those are very good games. And Mirage harkens back to that, and that sounds cool to me. So
yeah. And I know Rainbow Six Siege is extremely
yeah.
popular online. And
That's probably their most successful game.
it probably
Which
is.
good for them, I guess. At least they got something.
Yeah.
Because man, they better latch onto it and never let go. Because man, they want to milk. I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised because they just really want to milk all the money they can out of their consumer base, and it's like I'm just surprised they evidently haven't over monetized or ruined that game in some way, time saver or something.
Yeah, something like that. Probably. I'm pretty sure they sell like skins and cosmetics and stuff in the game.
Yeah, but you would think if it was an issue that people, I feel like I would have heard about it by now, but I don't hear so much about that game. So I guess either people are more willing to put up with that for those kinds of games,
or
which
maybe
is
there's
probably
just
part
worse
of it.
news going on in the gaming industry that's covering
Well,
all
that's
that up.
true too, but like I mean, you hear about Skull and Bones, you hear about every other Ubisoft game basically just sucks. Like, and then like this one, it's successful, and it's like it's got to be doing something right, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I just I don't know. I feel like it's. I hope it's not just a ticking time bomb, I guess, where it's just like, well, one day they're going to be like, hold on, we can get more out of this, and they're going to push it too far, and then they're going to lose their player base.
I wonder if they're going to take away the first division, Tom Clancy's division, because they got the sequel
I
out.
heard, yeah, I think I heard something about. I don't know what it was, but I swear I heard something on the wind about them already planning on another game that they're about to like try to take out, and it's like it might not have been Ubisoft even, but I've heard something about like yeah, there's another game on the horizon that like oh we're gonna take this one away next.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, man. A lot of people hated the Division. I thought it was cool. But yeah, I didn't play it super long. I like third-person shooters, cover-based shooters, and I think that one was. It was a cool playground at the very least. I liked the setting. I played the second one, but anyway.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah,
moral of the story: invest in indie games. You'll get more bang for your
absolutely.
buck.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, actually, to like put on to that too, like talking about AAA games and everything, it's just like I was saying before, it's like it just seems the state of AAA games is really decaying, and yeah, indie games have been
All around.
rising up.
All around.
So yeah,
Layoffs
like
from all these different companies for seemingly no reason, only because the growth is
profit
stagnating.
margins. Yeah,
Yeah, they're expecting like exponential growth, and they're only making as much as they did last year, and their salaries keep doubling. It's
yeah,
ridiculous. Man.
salaries keep going up, and then they're trying to they're appeasing their shareholders, and that's what it comes down to is like the shareholders and the big wigs, making more money every year after year and higher profits every year, and
Yeah,
it's destroying the AAA gaming industry. And yeah, you know what though? I think I'm at the point that I'm actually kind of okay with that. Hopefully, it just like there's this big,
Bash. Are
like a
you
big
calling back a video game crash similar to
a
the one
big
in
crash.
'83?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point the crash would only apply to AAA games, and
I think
and
so too.
while
Yeah,
that might hurt, let's be real. It's gonna hurt because anyways, even if it doesn't happen, because I already know, and I feel like most people do too. Although I will say it's a hot take, but Elder Scrolls 6 is gonna suck. Like there is like almost no doubt in my mind that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to suck. It like maybe it'll have a good foundation,
yeah.
but man, it's gonna be like full of bugs. It's gonna have like it's gonna be on like some old ass creation engine still.
Creation engine. Yeah, I don't think they've learned from Starfield.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I want to I want to applaud them every once in a while, but then it's like, dude, like why are you so backwards? And then but that's besides that too. I'm worried. Now this one might hit it close to home for you, but I'm also thinking that with GTA 6, man,
I
people
was
are
going to bring
really
that up. Yeah.
yeah, people are excited about it, but it's like I have to be cautious, man. I don't know. There is a very real chance that they're gonna be like, and a battle pass, and we're gonna charge, more. And I don't know, like you're gonna have to pay more for online, and we're gonna have actually, as far as I understand, um, no, one thing I was excited about that I don't know if it's true, but I heard that they're gonna actually, I think they bought the like some sort of rights or something to like have RP servers for Grand Theft Auto Online and stuff. But like that's cool and exciting, but the more that they
By
are
RP,
building,
you mean?
by RP I mean role play. Yeah, so they're more of like realistic role play servers that people do, where like there's people working jobs within the. Yeah, anyway, it's all mod based right now, but yeah, called GTA RP, I believe, or maybe it's online. Anyway, but yeah, they're trying to get into that too, which is really cool and exciting, and I hope that's true, I guess. But it's like the more they add on to online, the more likely it is that they're going to be like, you know what, we could charge a subscription for this. It's like, man,
Yeah. Well, I
I
mean,
don't know.
the shark cards seem to be doing pretty well for them. Why fix what ain't broke? Because greed.
Greed.
They need more money.
Take-Two needs that money, baby.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
Yeah, they got to
We'll
put the
see.
food on the table.
Yeah.
And buy that second yacht.
Yes, sir. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Gotta keep milking the player base. We can get more money out of this. Oh man, we can increase our profit margins. Oh my gosh. So I don't know, man. Like I feel like if it doesn't implode, it's just gonna keep. It's gonna hurt in another way. Basically, it's gonna hurt one way or the other. But I think the Band-Aid needs to be ripped off, and these big companies and CEOs need to learn.
Yeah.
Finally.
I'm skeptical of Grand Theft Auto 6 myself, but honestly, by the end of the day, it's going to develop. It's already got so much hype. It's going to break the internet when it releases. I mean, just the trailer alone broke the internet. It's going to succeed, no matter if it's considered a good game or not.
I'm curious. I am curious because I was overhyped for 5, but I guess I'm in a different camp with Grand Theft Auto where I liked 4 a lot, and then I was so overhyped for 5, and I was like hoping that they would really build on like what 4 was, but I knew that they probably wouldn't, and they didn't exactly, but I was following a lot of stuff for GTA 5, and I got kind of lied to about some things, and like so I was expecting certain things, and when I got the game, I was like, man, like. I didn't like some of it. Like one of the biggest things that I still remember to this day is like, I remember hearing that like, we played the game early, and like they were mentioning that like if you were like out in the wilderness, like out in the northern part of the map, and it's dark outside, if it's nighttime, you can't see anything. You have to have a flashlight and stuff like that. And that is really cool, and that's not the case at all. It's like the moon is a beacon. Like, it's so bright.
It's basically the second sun.
Yeah, it's so bright. It's always full and it's always bright. It's like, man, like that sucks. One thing I would hope they would add to Elder Scrolls 6, I was thinking too, is like seasons and stuff. I want more games with seasons in like a year like cycle or something. But anyways,
okay.
But yeah, darkness is a big thing for me too, and yeah, like I'll get mods and stuff so to make things more dark because it's always way too bright at night. And
you could also turn down the brightness on your television.
That's true, I guess. But then day's not bright enough. But
just
anyway,
pretend you're wearing sunshades.
There you go. Yeah, I guess that's a way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess I'm kind of distracting here, but to get back on track, yeah.
Are you picking up Star Wars Outlaws when it releases?
No, I was not even interested in that when it first got announced. The only reason I was even marginally interested is because I was like, oh, this could be like the Beyond Good and Evil 2 we were promised and are never going to get. That's the only Ubisoft game I've been interested in the last decade, man.
Same.
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yeah,
and it's
well,
like,
that and
holy
Skull
crap.
and Bones. And
I was going to say Skull and Bones, but...
Skull and Bones was the E3 preview released in 2017, is that right? The same time
That's the year I have in my head, yeah.
Yeah, that's the same time that that we got the look of Beyond Good and Evil 2 as well, and we're still waiting for that game.
And it's like not they have a website, and I'll check it every once. I haven't checked it in a good few years now. I have no idea when the last time it's been updated, but they update it from time to time, and I'm like, okay, it's not dead, but it's in one of those iffy areas where it's like, man, there's no way it's gonna deliver anymore. But in development hell, as they say.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So yeah, me. But that's the only time I was marginally excited for it. But the more I saw of Outlaws, the less I was interested in. That tends to be how it goes nowadays with every AAA game. It's like the more I see, the less I'm interested.
Yeah, if it goes down on sale for like $20 or less, I'll probably pick it up then.
Yep, same, maybe. Well, honestly, I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, Ubisoft has pretty good sales every now and then.
They do. Yep, like we were saying, yeah, they're bargain bins. So
yeah. Just Wait for a good
wait
sale.
a few months.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add?
I think I'm good.
No, all right. Ever since the dawn of time in 1974, a particular game saw the light of day. A little-known game, maybe you've heard of it, and maybe not, called Dungeons and Dragons, released by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, and thus the first true role-playing game was born. From then on, the definition of what it meant to be a role-playing game began to stretch and widen to cover all sorts of genres. And it is in my opinion that the gaming industry and its community has lost what it means to be an RPG. Bash, in your own words, what do you believe is an RPG? What does it mean to be a role-playing game?
Well, okay. So, I did write this down, I guess, because it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of things, but I have my own perspective on things, and like you said, I think it's been evolving over the years, the definition of RPG, and it keeps like adding more and more games under its umbrella. And originally I thought it was mostly held for turn-based games with a long playtime like Final Fantasy and things like that. But nowadays, it's more and more games have been described using the term RPG as a category to the point that I feel it's almost lost its meaning. I feel like we're at a point where one could call almost any game an RPG if they wanted to, anyways. With not a lot of argument needed to prove that point. It makes it difficult to talk about some categories of games that are under the RPG umbrella because it's become so big. Like, because that's one of those things. Like, I'll talk to people and like say I like RPGs, and it's like, oh, me too. You know, I play Metroid, or I like Hollow Knight, or and it's like, well, that's not what I'm talking about, I guess. But
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
You know, it makes things complicated, and then
vast differences between one RPG to the next. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so at this point, an RPG could be a long form turn-based game, or a first-person open world game with decisions that matter, or a mix of the two, or really, like I said, you can stretch the term however you like. Anyway, so yeah, there's the way I would describe RPGs, or the way I would like RPGs to be described is like basically one of those two. That's the way I would like to describe an RPG. Just like, and then other games need to have their own descriptors. I feel like it's becoming it's too big. It's beautiful that language can evolve and stuff, but man, it's
so can technology. Yep.
It's getting to a point that it's like, wow, like, you know, it's almost meaningless. It's just like almost you could say any game is an RPG. So
would you consider an RPG necessary for numbers to go up anywhere in the game?
For not necessarily,
whether it be stats, levels, or the like.
Yeah, like not necessarily, but yeah, I do think that is a staple of like from the beginning of RPG time, you know. So yeah, I do think that while I don't think it's necessary to be to necessarily like describe yourself as an RPG in that case, but yeah, you know what? No, I'll actually go all in on that and say yes. Like for my own description again, I would like it to be like a numbers go up, like you either have that kind of thing like good old Dungeons and Dragons, something like that, where you know there's a progression system, there's builds that can happen, and there's choices you can make. That's what I want an RPG to be. That's what I would like the term to mean, is what I mean.
Okay, so what if it's a game like is entirely skill based, where there aren't any numbers? Is still considered an RPG?
Like, what? Do you have an example?
I haven't really played any of the Souls-like games. I'm not sure if you actually level up in those games, but I hear those are pretty substantial RPGs.
You do level up in those. Well, sort of. The way you level up in those games is kind of like how you level up in like Monster Hunter. You improve your gear, and everything that you have. So everything gets stronger. So there will be a point in time where you can go back to the beginning of the game and just like slaughter stuff because it's like, oh yeah, you're a badass now.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd still say yes.
Okay. What about interactions with NPCs? Is that necessary?
Interactions with that's kind of a vague Wait, what do you mean? I guess like just talking to NPCs
Yeah, to interacting with the world around you.
or having. Are you talking about interacting as? Interacting is just a
As in
widespread.
talking
You mean like
to an
talking and having
NPC to
word-
get quests, to get items from a shop,
Okay.
to whatever.
I guess. Again, I guess with my own definition of it, I would like there to be generally not maybe not every single an NPC, but there to be a system of like. There's a web of like a conversation that you can have with NPCs. Not every NPC, but like, of course, I don't need to be having a long-winded conversation with the weapons guy or something. But yeah. So
Well, okay,
yeah,
it doesn't have to
say
be a long-winded conversation. Just the simple fact of like going up and asking, "Hey, what do you have to sell?" and be like, "Here's what we got." That kind of interaction.
I feel like it doesn't have to be an RPG to have something like that specifically. If it has that, like that doesn't necessarily define it to be an RPG in my eyes.
Okay. What about the ability to be able to create the character to your liking, whether it be, by appearance or by skill tree or something like along that nature?
Okay, well, interesting, because those are two different things. Because by appearance, no, I don't think so. I would. I'm on the fence about whether I prefer it or not. I like making my own characters a lot, but it's okay if you can't. I'm fine with that. But builds are important to me, and yeah, builds I think are necessary to call it. Under my definition of an RPG, they're necessary. Like having variety of builds that you can do or play styles. Yes.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a quiz. Very similar to what we did last time. I want to list a long list.
Okay.
Okay, maybe it won't be that long, but we'll see. Of games and series.
Make it long.
Yeah, and you're going to tell me whether it falls into the RPG category, and if not, then tell me what kind of genre it should be in.
Okay. So let's put it under my definition of an RPG, I guess. But I will say I may not always have an answer for what it should be in, because there might not be one, but I don't know.
Could you repeat what your definition of an RPG was again, so we have it under the books?
Well, we kind of just went through it, so it's like if numbers go up, if there is a build system, and things like that. I would prefer to have like dialogue webs, but that's I guess not necessary. But I like those, but they're not necessary to call it an RPG. So yeah, basically numbers like. Maybe not necessarily literally numbers, but like some sort of progression and builds or different play styles.
Okay,
that's what defines an RPG for me.
All right, first off is Super Mario RPG.
Well, okay, that's an RPG, I would say. I haven't played it, but it is.
Well, RPG's in the name, so you would think obviously not an RPG.
Right.
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man's not an RPG.
The original one. Where you eat the pellets and power-ups and all that? No? Okay. All right. Yeah. Moving on. All right, so those are the easy ones.
Right.
Next up is any D&D like tabletop system.
There's a lot of those, but I would say those are RPGs, I would say. Well, TTRPGs, but tabletop RPGs.
Any Tetris game.
No.
Any Final Fantasy game.
Probably at least most of them. I haven't played any, but
okay. Any mainline Final Fantasy game?
Yeah. From what I understand, yes.
Any Elder Scrolls game?
I haven't played all those either, but from what I know,
Okay. Any Mario Party game?
No.
Okay. Going back to Pac-Man, what would you call that, or what would you put that under?
Pac-Man? Oh, like what would I call it? That's I don't actually know what I'd call that. I guess it's kind of its own thing. Arcade game? I don't know, man.
We'll go with that. Going back to Tetris, what would you call that?
Kind of vague, I guess. Tetris? It's another one that's just like it's arcadey in nature, I guess.
So it'd be an arcade.
I guess. I guess that's a really vague term. It's kind of a cop-out, but again, I'm not going to have terms for all these. So.
Oh, that's fine. Just in your own opinion. It doesn't have to fall into very specific categories. And going back to Mario Party, what would you call that? What genre?
Party game.
Party game.
Party game.
Okay. Specifically, Mario Party Advanced. Would you call that an RPG?
I have never played it.
Okay. So that's
Party game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Mario Party Advance is like such a departure from Mario Party in a sense, where it's like strictly single player.
Is it an RPG?
It has RPG elements in it. Yes.
Ooh.
Any Witcher game?
Those are RPGs, from what I understand. I played 3.
All right. Any Persona game?
Yeah, I would say those are RPGs in the old school term, at least the old school sense, what they've always been.
Old school as in turn-based?
As in Final Fantasy. Like yeah, what I was saying with my description, I guess, is like the original RPGs were like long-form JRPGs that are turn-based. Here, like that it checks all those boxes of old school RPG. I guess that's what I'd call that, an old school RPG.
Gotcha, okay. Let's see what we have. Any mascot platformer?
That's
so falling under Super Mario, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon.
Okay, no, those are just platformers.
Gotcha. Any Legend of Zelda game?
Although you've got like Ratchet and Clank, kind of.
Yes.
But still no. From my definition, still no.
Got it.
So what was the next one?
Legend of Zelda. Any of those?
Legend of Zelda, man. Okay, so you're way more expert at these. Like I've only played a few of them.
Okay, of the few that you have played, would you consider them RPGs?
I would actually. So under my definition, they're not. So I guess not actually. Under the vast way, like the way they've been described, yes. But no, I would say no. I would say those are adventure games. That's what I would call those.
Okay, fair enough. Any Zork game? Have you played Zork before?
That sounds familiar, but no, I don't know what that is.
All right, undefined. Come back to that.
What is it though? Can you Wikipedia it? I want to know now.
Oh.
Is there a picture of it? What is it? I want to know.
You know what? Sure. Let's go over Zork. 1977. It is.
Oh, I know what that is. I already know from saying that. It's a text-based.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a text-based adventure game.
No graphics. It's all text.
Yes, as far as I know. I don't know if there's builds in that game, but if there are, then sure, yeah. But I don't know. I don't think there is though. I think you're just like trying to get through a dungeon or something like that.
Okay, but would you consider? I would
consider it if it's just a dungeon like that you're trying to get through. It's an adventure game. If there's builds involved like that, then I would say it's an RPG under my definition. But I don't think there is.
But you haven't played it, so we'll just keep it undefined right now.
Sure.
Any Talisman game?
Talisman. That's a good one. You kind of get pre-builds in that one, but there are different ways of playing. So yeah, I would say yeah. Under my definition, that's still a RPG, I guess.
You know what I'm talking about, right? The board game.
Yes, Talisman, the board game.
Yeah. Any Souls-like game?
Souls-like games are RPGs. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Any Fire Emblem game?
Yes. I would almost consider those old school RPGs because they do have the turn-based thing going on, but not quite. There's different play styles from what I understand. I've only played 3 houses, so I have to put that out there.
Okay, so going off a tangent real quick, do you consider all turn-based games to be old school?
Generally, maybe. Like, I think that'd be a safe bet, but I don't know. Because like, or maybe like turn-based JRPGs. That's an old school RPG from my perspective.
Yeah.
So that's what I would call that generally. I don't know, especially with like no deep knowledge of them. Yeah.
Understood. Any Kingdom Hearts game?
That's tough. I would call that an action adventure.
But you still level up.
You do level up, but there's no different playstyles. And yeah, no, I'd still call it an action. You know, this might not be on your list, but I've been playing. I know we're gonna get into this later, but I've been playing Batman, and I wouldn't consider the Batman series an RPG either. They're action adventures as well. Even though you're role playing Batman, they're action adventures.
And you're going around and improving your equipment for more stuff.
Yeah, you
find.
do get better skills and better equipment, but there's no different ways to play the game. You're going to play the game the same way every time. The gameplay loop is the same.
Okay.
Rather, I mean, there might be different. At least, like in Batman, you might be able to like approach things differently, but that's still the core gameplay loop. Is like you want to approach stealthily or loud, generally stealthily, but that still applies. It's not an RPG from my very rigid description that probably nobody will agree with. But
okay, so you'll have to like be able to. Like upon different playthroughs, be able to choose different builds for your character. Gotcha. Okay,
yeah,
so
if Batman had, like or let's stick with what you're saying. Kingdom Hearts. If Kingdom Hearts had now it kind of does, but not really. It doesn't mean anything. At the very beginning of the game, you get to choose like the wand, the shield, or the sword, or whatever. Like woohoo! But that doesn't change the core gameplay.
It affects your stats.
It just affects your stats, and it doesn't really affect how the game is going to play. You're going to play the same game in a very similar fashion. But like something like Dark Souls that we already went through, you can go a dexterity-based build that you're going to have to be dodging things, but you can go a strength-based build where you're going to be blocking things, and you're going to have a very different playstyle either. Or you can go like magic-based where you're going to be ranged, and you're going to have a lot different interactions with different creatures and bosses.
Yeah.
Some creatures are going to be harder. That's another like I think, well, maybe not defining feature, but something that you're going to see more often in like an RPG-like kind of game is when different people using different builds have very different experiences with like the same boss or the same creature or whatever. If you're going to have different, that means that, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. That's an RPG.
Understood.
For what I want it to be.
Gotcha. All right, moving on. Any Metroid game?
Yeah, see, we're still in that. That's an action adventure kind of thing. Or, well, actually, that's like a platformer, puzzle platformer. That's what they're called.
What would you put it under? Action adventure or puzzle platformer?
I guess it depends, but generally puzzle platformer. I don't know
about
Prime
it's everything.
So much. It's everything. Yeah,
it's a music
genre defying. Yeah, it's a Strand-like game.
I'll put puzzle platformer.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Generally, it's a puzzle platformer. I don't know about Prime, but the rest of them are puzzle platformers.
Any Banjo-Kazooie game?
Banjo-Kazooie is no. It's a 3D platformer.
Any Darkest Dungeon game?
Darkest Dungeon.
Would you consider those to be RPGs?
Well, my description was that it had builds and that numbers. Yeah, so yeah, both those happen. Numbers go up, and there are different builds and playstyles. Yep, so that's an RPG. Although it's much more of a condensed version, I will admit. It can be stretched to be called an RPG, but I would call it a dungeon crawler. That's what like my description of it is.
Gotcha. Any Grand Theft Auto game?
No. I don't know. Those are kind of their own genre in themselves, honestly, but
like
I don't know what
Second Life kind of games.
I guess, yeah, a realistic crime simulator, but then take itself too seriously. But yeah, we'll call it a crime simulator.
Simulator.
Yeah.
Any Gloomhaven game?
Gloomhaven is an RPG. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, numbers go up, and there are different builds, different characters.
Any Borderlands game?
Yep.
I agree.
Numbers go up, and there's different builds. Yep.
All right. Any Batman Arkham game?
Hey, you do have it on your list. Actually, yep. I would say no. Those are like, I don't know if I'd necessarily call it adventure, but they're action games. I don't know. Action stealth.
Action stealth?
Yeah.
All right. Any Halo game?
No. Those are first-person shooters.
FPS. Any Phoenix Wright game?
No, those are visual novels.
Any Uncharted or Last of Us game?
Oh, those are no. Those are oh man, what are those called? Platformer shooters, I think, or something like that.
Whatever
Platform
term
shooters?
you have in your mind.
That's what I would call them, platform shooters. They're like, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the best way to describe them.
Well,
Last of Us maybe not, but it's close enough.
Platform shooter? Is that your final answer?
I think they're slightly different games. I think Last of Us is more of a stealth third-person shooter, and Uncharted is a platform shooter. I consider those different game genres.
I gotcha.
Even though I guess you could put them under the, if you want to group them together, you just say third-person shooter.
Third-person shooter.
Cover-based shooter.
Okay. Any Warriors-like game?
Like the Warriors from PlayStation 2, that game?
Like Dynasty Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem Warriors.
I thought you meant the movie adaptation, which is a good game for the record. It's one of the few that's like a good movie, especially from back in the heyday of terrible movie adaptations. It's a good game. I don't think I've heard of it. Introduced it. Yeah, I got introduced it by an old friend of mine, and I haven't played it in a long time. So I can't remember really how it plays. Actually, I need to replay it. I remember having a really good time with it. It's a really good beat 'em up kind of game. I think you'd like it, honestly.
Might give it a try.
On PS2, I believe. Yeah. But sorry. So Dynasty Warriors, those kinds of games.
Yeah.
They're okay. You kind of said it. Yeah. I was like, I don't know enough about those. I played them, but it was like I was a kid when I played those. I played Dynasty Warriors 3, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm a little bit behind on those. But yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. There's different characters you can choose, at least, right?
Yeah. There are different characters. Do
you level up?
Yes.
You do level up, and there's different play styles. But are there? But are there builds, I guess? Are there builds within the playstyles?
There is.
There is? Okay, well
there are custom trees that you can use. Well, in Hyrule, I spent a lot of hours in Hyrule Warriors. At least in Hyrule Warriors, there are trees that you can use, material that you gather from the battles to build up each character.
Okay, but when you say build up, the numbers go up. But are you choosing? Is it like Borderlands where you have, or something like that, where you have maybe a tree to go down, or yes. Okay, then, man, I'm learning now that maybe my method is too big of too wide of an umbrella myself. Because I guess under my description that would be, but I wouldn't consider that.
But you wouldn't consider based off what gameplay alone?
Yeah. So I need to maybe rigid, make it even more rigid. I thought it was already pretty rigid, but gameplay alone, those hack and slashers, well, you know what? Why not, man? I guess it's an RPG. I don't know. If there's seriously different ways you can play the game, you can replay it and have a completely different experience. Gotcha. That's what I'm looking for in an RPG. That's what I want.
Okay. And the last one I have on the list is any Telltale narrative game.
As far as I understand, those are visual novels.
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, they're visual novels, yeah.
Alright, let's see how you did. Before we get to that, we're going to go over the different categories of RPGs, because we have already established that a role-playing game is such a broad spectrum that there are very many different subcategories of RPGs. Starting with the CRPG, or the computer role-playing game, which is essentially RPGs on computers. If it runs on a computer, it's considered a CRPG. But the most notable ones are probably Baldur's Gate 3 that just came out. That gives you the ability to customize your character, and it gives you challenges to survive enemy combat. As the biggest pinpoints of CRPG. And then you can break CRPGs down even further into what we call JRPGs, or Japanese role-playing games, which of course are RPGs that are made in Japan but not specifically made in Japan. And then you would have JRPG inspired games. These are more focused on set characters experiencing a linear story, some of which you can actually call upon the player to generally affect the story's ending. And it's basically all about numbers, all about making numbers go up. And that's how you define that. You got WRPGs, which are Western RPGs. These have a large focus on character creation, whether how they look and what their trees are going to be. It's very open-ended in a create your own adventure style. So, like think of Skyrim. That would be like a really good Western RPG. ARPGs are action role-playing games. They're the complete opposite of turn-based or free-form action-based. You get to basically, they're entirely skill-based on the in combat. Then, like I said, you got your turn-based, which may also be known as tactics-based or strategy, where you take turns between you and the enemies. You got your isometrics, which give you a diagonal view of the world. So think of your Diablos. And then your dungeon crawlers, which gives you a first-person view, movements through specifically dungeons.
So, just a quick note, Diablo's an ARPG as well, actually.
Yeah, it can be considered that as well, yeah.
Yeah, some few of these are kind of like in a couple of ways, yeah.
Yeah,
and
this is not the end of what this sub genres of RPGs, because of course you got your text-based ones for ones like Zork, and you got your visual novels that we've established before. Certain decisions allow you to make numbers go up, although I don't have a specific example for that.
I can't think of a single one like that, to be honest.
Well, what I mean,
novels are...
okay, maybe that was a bad example. Maybe not specifically make numbers go up, but allow you to choose different endings. So borderline JRPGs.
Not all of them.
Yeah, not all of them.
Because I don't know what those are actually called. Because you're talking about something like an Until Dawn or something like that, where there's different choices you can make that affect the story. But,
yeah,
Phoenix, right?
Telltale. There's narrative stories.
Yeah, no. Oh wait, no, you're right. Telltale is one of those. That's right. That's why I was a little bit not sure, because Telltale. I don't know if they're visual. I don't know if there's a separate category for those. They're visual novels, but they have branching paths. Where Phoenix Wright doesn't have branching paths, or Danganronpa doesn't have
cinematic novels? Question mark.
I don't know. You'd have to have some way of signifying that this one has branching paths, and this one's just a visual novel. It's just going to tell you the same story. If you get something wrong, you're going to go back and do it right.
Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human come to mind as
and Until Dawn was the one that came up. The same studio made all three of those.
Yeah.
And those are branching stories. Those are a little bit different.
Right. All right. Well, in my definition of a role-playing game, it's just extremely simple. It's a game where you play a role, which in a way could represent any character-based game. Any game where you're controlling some sort of character, you're going through a world, and you're interacting with the world itself, whether through NPCs or maybe even maybe puzzles that they throw at you, enemy combat, whatever the case may be. It's considered a role-playing game in my eyes. If I could have it my way, I would completely omit RPG as a genre all of its own, and just focus on the subgenres of each individual game as we have established. Because if you really take the RPG definition at face value, almost all games can fall under this category. So we're going to go back through the list, and I'll tell you exactly how I would categorize each of these different games that we have listed here. Starting with Mario RPG. Yes, it is an RPG, but in a sense, I'll just call that an adventure game. You go on an adventure. You're, I guess, trying to take back Bowser's Castle, and you're getting friends along your way to build your party. Simple as that. Pac-Man, I would just simply call that a score attack action game. It's based off skill, and you're trying to hit a high score. Any D&D like tabletop system, I would call those turn-based games. Simple as that. Any Tetris is falling block puzzle games. Final Fantasy is adventure. Elder Scrolls are adventures. Mario Party is party virtual board games. And then Mario Party Advance is basically an adventure virtual board game. Witcher and Persona are both adventures. Mascot platformers are obviously platformers. Let's see. Legend of Zelda is an adventure, like you said. Zork is I would call it a virtual novel. Talisman, I would call it a adventure virtual board game. Souls-like is adventure. Fire Emblem, adventure tactics specifically, because you're not only taking the role of yourself, but also a bunch of other, like an entire army essentially per side. Kingdom Hearts Adventure, Metroid, specifically action adventure, but puzzle platformer is not too far off. I could see that. But actually, Metroid could fall under its own category of Metroidvania, which I could see any of the Batman Arkham games falling in that category too. Basically, any game that blocks off paths in the game until you get better gear to allow you to go through said paths when you backtrack to them. I would call those Metroidvanias. So Castlevania would fall under that category as well.
All right.
Banjo-Kazooie is an adventure collectathon. Donkey Kong 64 would fall under that as well. Darkest Dungeon is specifically a dungeon crawler virtual board game. I think you mentioned that as well. Where you
dungeon crawlers.
Dungeon crawler. Yeah.
Literally what you do.
It's funny that they call them dungeon crawlers and not dungeon adventures or
so actually,
something nicer.
If I can step in just real quick, it does sound like you could almost omit the word adventure from a lot of yours too, like because it seems like adventure is one that's carrying across genres for you too.
Adventure is definitely one that is not as broad as role-playing game and specifically, but a lot of role-playing games could be considered adventure games based on their nature. Grand Theft Auto, I just call them action games. That's what you do. Gloomhaven, dungeon crawler virtual board game, same as Darkest Dungeon. Borderlands, strictly first-person shooter game, same with Halo. Phoenix Wright is a visual novel. Uncharted or Last of Us are third-person shooters. Some call them cover-based shooters, just like you said. Any Warriors game, I kind of spill the beans. Hack and slash games. And Telltale narrative games are basically visual novels.
I thought about it too. Actually, another term I would use for Grand Theft Auto is sandbox games. That's what those are.
A good point.
Sandbox games, yeah.
Super Mario Odyssey could be called that. Yeah,
you can kind of just screw around with what's in the world, and you're pretty unrestricted in that. Yeah.
And you're not going through a linear story unless you choose to. I guess Skyrim could be considered a sandbox as well. Open world.
I think so.
Yeah.
Open world, sure, yeah, but the thing about sandbox games is you've got a physics engine and you've got an engine of the characters and stuff responding to what you do, and it's all about what the player does, and that's you can kind of just do what you want and see how everything reacts. That's a sandbox game.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just crazy that games come out nowadays and they call them RPGs. I mean, that's great, but what specifically is your definition of RPG? Because it's certainly different than mine. It's certainly different than yours. It's certainly different than the other guys. It's just something to think about. While doing research in preparation of this episode, I've been getting a lot of different answers from different videos I've been watching on YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing of a good example of how English or just language in general can be you can see how a term or a word can evolve over the years and become such a widespread it just, I don't know, it's one of those that I think you're right. I think you make a really good point about you could just omit the thing entirely. I think I really do agree with that, but the only issue with that is no, I don't think there is an issue with that, because then I was people might misunderstand when you're talking about certain games, but nah, I think you put pretty clear and concise versions of different titles or whatever, different genres for each game. I think you did a good job with that. Honestly, I feel like I agree with you on most fronts. Although I noticed you said Kingdom Hearts is action, and then Metroid is action adventure. I'm
adventure. I called Kingdom Hearts adventure.
Oh, adventure and action adventure. That's what it was.
Yeah. But then that gets you to the nitty gritty. Yeah, exactly. What's the difference? You're still doing action based stuff. Yes. I what did I say was action adventure? Metroid? Yeah, Metroid. Yeah.
So
I guess I was thinking of action adventure when I got to Metroid. Kingdom Hearts could fall under that as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it's just adventure is one of those two that's it's very
No.
It's a big umbrella.
You're absolutely right. Adventure could be the same as RPG as well, as far as the sense of like, can we omit that and still dive further down to even more subgenres to what these fit in?
It's one of the same things where like you could almost call any game an adventure because that's what it is, or even like a book. It's an adventure,
The bit of a stretch on RPG is games like Tetris, because you're not playing the role of the Tetris blocks. You're playing the role of the guy who's guiding them down and clearing lines. Right. So I mean, you're just playing the role of you playing the game. Yeah. I mean, is that really an RPG? Is that really an adventure game?
No, that's true. Yeah, no, that's true. You can't say that's an adventure game either. But those are very specific old examples. Like the way that games have gone now, it's like you're generally playing a story out, and if you're playing a story out, you could pretty much call it an adventure, and that's like 90% of games nowadays.
Okay, what about the adventure mode in Puyo Puyo Tetris? Have you ever played that?
Mm-mm.
No. Wow. With full blown characters, and then they solve their problems by playing Tetris and Puyo.
Wow, no. I've not seen that before.
Could you consider that an adventure game, or just an adventure mode within the game?
Is there a story involved?
There is a story involved. It's not very good in my opinion, but it's there.
Do they go on an adventure?
They do.
Adventure. Totally adventure.
Yeah.
Every game's an adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. I went on an adventure playing Pac-Man for the first time. Boy, when I cleared that board and I went to the next one, wow.
Oddly enough, I actually took the aspect of Pac-Man and like implemented into the last one-shot adventure of D&D that I did. It was actually a lot of fun. So I had like the players go into a maze of sorts, and then they were finding like floating pellets and stuff to open up, I guess, a secret door that led them into Pac-Man 99 that they had to play to get through. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So in a sense, that could tie into an adventure.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah. So it's just weird that that like I said, like everyone's definition of RPG is different.
It's different.
Yeah, and I know. I let loose of music earlier, but I was watching a video recently on YouTube called "The Entire History of RPGs" by Never Knows Best, all one word. Mm-hmm. It's actually a really good documentary of the entire history of RPGs. It's definitely worth the watch.
Cool. All right. Best time.
Is there anything else you would like to add to this segment?
No, yeah. I think I've said what I need to say. I really do agree with your just getting rid of it. I think it would be the best.
I think so too. Yeah. Such a wide umbrella. Just focus on the subgenres, guys.
Yeah, for real.
All right, moving on is the Hobbyist. This is the segment of the podcast where I ask the guests, "What have you been working on lately, Bash?"
From working on, I don't know.
What are you doing? What are you having fun with?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I am playing Batman now. I did mention last podcast that I was trying to beat Midnight Suns. I did beat that. Excellent game. Very long, but it is very good. And I don't know, people have some issues with it, but I kind of get it. But I think the gameplay loop is good enough. You can skip a lot of the stuff that slows down the story. And then been going through the Arkham games again. I beat Arkham City in a very short amount of time. I between our last podcast and this one, I beat Midnight Suns and then started and beat Arkham Asylum, which I don't remember being that short, but okay.
Oh, nice.
Now I'm on Arkham Knight, which, man, I haven't played that game literally since it came out. So it was like since 2015. I forgot everything, and it's been a ride. I've been really enjoying it. That game is way more beautiful than I remember. I don't know if they updated it. It does seem like they are. They've got more suits. They've got like the 2022 suit in there and everything. It's like, wow, they've really been keeping up with this game. And it's still like, it has no business being so pretty. It looks like it could have come out just today. Like it's really, really cool playing through that again. Nice. I want to talk about my shoes.
Yeah.
You're talking about the D&D 1974 is when it came out, and so it's the 50th anniversary, so they made some new shoes.
Very nice.
I got these today, and they're pretty cool.
I like that.
And they got the evil stuff in there. And yeah,
looks like the original art from the first D&D sets.
Yep, that was the goal they were going for, I guess. And that was my favorite, but they have a few with Converse that they did like a collab with, which, yeah, I thought that was really cool. I'm getting pretty sick and tired of, like I've mentioned, just all big businesses, and Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro is no different, but I don't know. I had to like grab those. I was like, wow, the nerd culture stuff is too cool. Oh, another thing I wanted to tell you about that I just impulsively bought last night. IGN is selling a Pip-Boy replica from this show series.
Oh, really?
With a working screen, with all the knobs working. It's got several different settings. You could you could use it as an alarm clock too. It has like its own stand.
Oh my god!
You can plug it in.
That sounds amazing.
Pull it up.
Oh
like
my
it's
god.
so cool. IGN Pip-Boy, yeah.
This looks so cool.
Yeah. So I did impulsively buy this. You only have a day left. Yeah, it's a price dump, I will admit, but I was like, fuck it, dude.
Well, the thing is, I already have like a older generation iPhone that I can slip into the special edition Pip-Boy that came with Fallout 4. So I guess I got my fix that way, but this looks amazing, dude.
Oh, that too, that little thing that just popped up. If you sign up for IGN, you can get 10% off of this purchase too, so it'll knock $20 off.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, but I was like, what? That's really cool. And I talked to my wife about it. She's like, yeah, if you want to get it. I'm like, okay, cool. I got permission. Let's go.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. There's the stand.
Well, I'm in a position where I'm trying to convince my wife to let me go to the Rocket League championships that are happening in Fort Worth. So,
ooh, that's awesome to hear. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. I just learned about that today, actually.
Yeah, that was me with this. I learned about it last night, and I just like... I'm gonna get this.
As much as I would love to sink $200 into a dust collector, I think I'd much rather sink like $400, $500 into seat tickets.
Yeah, hey man, you do you. But yep. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. Man, that looks awesome, man. I gotta see this in person.
Yeah, you'll see it when I get it. It won't be for a while, but yeah, they're like in pre-order right now, and then they're gonna produce them, I guess. But yep. So should have bought two maybe, but I'm not gonna do that. You can just resell one, you know.
Yeah, you could do that.
I'm not one of those though.
That was my original intention when I bought 2 of the special edition Batman Arkham Knight collector.
Really, I have that same edition.
Yeah, I bought 2 of them, and the price went down so hard on them. I was very disappointed. I'm like, never again.
do you remember, like, they originally were gonna have the Batmobile be like the thing you got for the pre-order, and it was like ridiculously expensive when it first came out.
No, I never heard of that.
Yeah, and it was like they were gonna have a Batmobile that could actually transform into the tank mode or something, if I remember right. And it was
like that.
It was so, dude, it was so expensive. I was like, there's no way I'm going to buy that. I would have bought it, but I was like, dude, I don't remember how much it was, but especially back then, I was like, man, I was young enough. I mean, I was making money, but it's just like, dude, fuck that. I'm not spending that much. And then a period of time came where like they were like, okay, look, we can't actually make these apparently, so they went with the statue, and they substantially reduced the price. It was like way less, and they offered, I guess, refunds or something. I don't know how that part went, but when they dropped the price, I was like, okay, I'll get that collector's edition. I'll paint that. I never did paint that, but I want to paint that statue and make it look like Joker, like deface it and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
that was my plan with it, but yeah, I never did. I still have that statue though. But yeah, it's one of those stories I never forgot. Mine's
still in its box. I haven't really busted it out in years.
Is it NRFB?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Never removed? Oh. Never removed from box?
No, I mean, it has been removed. I had set it up, but I've moved like several times since then.
But you said you bought 2. Did you open both, or?
I think I gifted the other one eventually because I got tired of, hauling it around.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's kind of bulky. Yeah, like that. I will admit, like that, especially compared to like that Batmobile they were gonna do. That thing is like, it's okay. It's a big hunk of plastic. At the end of the day, it lights up. Nice. That was cool. That was an unexpected little thing. I was like, okay. But and then I got like a steel book and like an art book too. I liked that. It came with a physical art book. Which you don't see that anymore.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Nowadays it's all PDFs.
Yeah, I hate that. So I'll look at them once and then it's like cool, but like I can't like have that on display in my house. Like I love that.
You could take a picture of the front cover and just like have the picture just sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, I could take a screenshot of any part of the PDF and then boom, put that.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Problem solved.
Oh, that's what I'll do. I'll print out the entire thing and make my own book. There we go.
Awesome.
Oh, man.
Yep.
All right.
So the next segment of the podcast is free games of the week. Yeah, nailed it. All right. So before I've been doing not only the Epic Game Store but also Amazon Prime, PlayStation Plus, and Nintendo Switch Online. I'm omitting PlayStation Plus and Nintendo Switch Online because, as we discussed before starting the podcast, you're not exactly owning those games. PlayStation Plus technically, as long as you still have the subscription. NSO definitely not. It's just part of the subscription, no matter what. And then whenever you lose access to your subscription, those games go along with it. And I want to focus on the games that you would be able to keep with you whether you have the subscription or not. Amazon Prime's a little different because you need the Prime subscription in order to get the games, but after that you have access to them from then on out, whether or not you have a subscription or not. I've been saying subscription a lot lately, so let's just move on to Epic Game Store. This week we have... hitting wrong buttons here. There we go. Industria and Lisa the Definitive Edition. And then next week, Orcs Must Die 3 becomes available. Have you heard of any of these?
Lisa.
Have you played it?
That's the only one. No, I've been interested but scared to buy it because it is a self-described life-ruining experience. That is what the game is called.
Lisa, I was looking at the previews of Lisa. I was like looking into it a little bit, and it looks absolutely horrendous. Not gonna lie.
It is supposed to be very emotionally like draining.
Yeah.
I was scared to buy it, but interested in it because there's funny parts, and I've seen all the funny parts, and the funny parts are cool. But there's a lot of not funny parts that I haven't seen, and I've heard about, and oh my god, it sounds awful.
Yeah, honestly, the game looks ugly as hell, and I'm not looking forward to playing this anytime at all.
Bro, you got to get over that, dude. Oh my gosh.
Well, excuse me for wanting to stick to playing the pretty games.
Pretty games. You gotta play Industria then? That game looks pretty enough, I guess.
Well, honestly, the Orcs Must Die 3 is a game that I've been kind of interested in because I've seen the previews, and that's actually a pretty hilarious game to get into.
I've heard of it. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
I've heard the name. Never heard of Industria either, but Lisa, yikes, I don't know. I'm gonna try it probably, but...
Gotcha. And moving on to Amazon Prime at gaming.amazon.com. I'm not going to go read this entire list, but this is what's... Whoops. There we go. Ooh, there we go. This is what's available that you can pick up today, including Fallout 76. That's a notable one. I've heard decent things about Black Desert. It's been getting better, I suppose.
I don't know. It's one of those games. That's the game where you'll see people with thousands of hours say that it's horrible. Worst game ever.
Oh, is that the one?
Yeah, it's one of those, definitely.
Okay.
It's one of those.
Okay, well, a pretty good friend of mine has been sinking some hours into it. He says it's not bad.
So from what I understand, it's just when you got games like that where people describe them that way, the problem is they're very, very grindy. Yep. And that's what I've heard about that one. So that's why you have so many hours, but could be a fun grind.
Yep. Chivalry 2 is a standout. I looked into Demon's Tilt. That's basically like a pinball game on drugs is the best way I can describe it. It looks very interesting in my opinion. You get 2 fire away games. Looks like some point and click adventure games.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Among others. But,
I like point and clicks.
But of course the standout is Fallout 76. The new Fallout show that recently came out is such a big hit. I'm trying to finish up The Boys, at least at the end of the season, in order to watch Fallout with my wife and to be able to get into that. But because how popular it's gotten, it's been bringing a lot of people to want to play the games, and Fallout 76 is one of them. So it's gotten like a huge boon. Did you see the tweet that Bethesda sent out pretty recently, where they're celebrating 1 million concurrent players in Fallout 76, and then 5 million concurrent players in any Fallout game ever?
That's wild.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Wow, that's a successful show. Holy crap.
They did their...
They missed the mark, dude. Did they release a new Fallout game, like, now? Oh, my God. The money.
Well, actually, that's a good point. John from Spawnwave made the comment that we're not going to be seeing the next Fallout game, Fallout 5, anyways, if Bethesda's the one that's making it until 2030 something, I believe he said.
That's a push, but yeah, probably, maybe.
Well, because
okay.
Go ahead.
I was gonna just not offhandedly, but quickly mention that I did actually finish. Started and finished the Fallout show.
How do you like it?
It was really, really good.
Ooh, surprising.
It is very good. Now, I will admit, the one thing I'm going to tell you before going in that you specifically might want to know is that it is gory. It's gory. It's like the video games. You're going to see like explosions of people.
Okay, well, if it's like the video games, I can go in expecting it, and it should be just fine. But
just expect, it's very quick too. Like
don't expect me going in and watching like a Silent Hill show or anything like that.
No. But it is like just the action and stuff gets very bloody, and it's like the first time it happened, I was like, oh, like I don't know, it's just like, whoa, that was vicious.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna have some, but it's a very fun show. It's a dark comedy kind of show, I guess. It's dark for sure, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just like the games. It's great.
Yeah.
So good, coming from a gaming perspective, like loving the video games and being a big fan of those. They really nailed it, and they did it in such a good way where like a wide audience could see it and understand and love it just as much and want to get into it. Like it's perfect. I don't know, it's like peak, at least at this point, for like what a gaming adaptation looks like. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely looking forward to it. Want to watch it here very, very soon. Moving on, we got our poll of the week, and we are asking a very simple question: how do you feel about Ubisoft right now, as a whole, as a game company? Do you think they're pumping out quality games, or do you think they're a sinking ship?
You're asking me? I'll answer the poll.
There you go. Just hop on the poll. You can find the poll on the community tab on the Tales from the Basement YouTube channel right then and there. You can also find polls from previous weeks. I'm still awaiting more answers for that. And if you want to have a chance for your comment to be featured on any future videos, all you have to do is just post in a comment below. I will read them, and you can have a chance to be featured in future episodes. All right, Bash, is there anything else you want to add before we sign off for the night?
I'm good.
All right. Thank you all for watching Tales from the Basement. Be sure to check in every week for fresh content. If you like what you watch here today, make sure you mash those like and subscribe buttons and ding that bell to be notified for more episodes in the future. I am Joe, and this is Bash.
This is the sign off.
Yeah. This has been Tales from the Basement, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.